Whether you're familiar with the Filipino arm wrestling scene or completely new to it, I think you'll find something here to appreciate either way. We're diving into one of the most surprising and passionate arm wrestling communities I've ever encountered. And hey, if you enjoy content like this, please consider subscribing to the Arm Historian. Before we dive into the arm wrestling side of things, a quick aside here on the Philippines itself. Made up of over 7,000 islands located in Southeast Asia just east of Vietnam, the country is known for its stunning beaches, lush landscapes, and a culture that's as warm as its climate. As someone from Western Europe, it was certainly a fascinating shift, although being able to communicate in English so widely really helped me connect with the people across the islands, especially in the arm wrestling scene. Even though this trip originally had nothing to do with arm wrestling, before I even boarded my flight, I was already trying to see if I could get some pulling in with the local Filipino arm wrestlers. Through contacting Eastside Arm Wrestling, an awesome creator and puller in Southeast Asia, I got in touch with Shaun Chispa, one of the top-ranked arm wrestlers in the Philippines and a strong content creator himself. Shaun was eager to set up a friendly super match and meet up with me, which gave this trip a whole new layer of excitement. My first stop was Manila, and the city made a big impression on me. It's a sprawling, vibrant metropolis filled with diverse neighborhoods and contrasts at every corner. Shaun Chispa's neighborhood, where I had my first match, was just a 40-minute drive from where I was staying. A short trip, maybe, but one that took me into a completely different pocket of the city. Like I said, my journey through the Philippines began as a personal trip, but it quickly turned into a deep dive into the country's arm wrestling culture. What I found was a passionate and ever-growing community that took me by surprise. Arm wrestling is alive and thriving in ways that deserve more attention in the Philippines. The people were incredibly warm and welcoming everywhere I went, and their love for the sport was undeniable. One thing that really stood out was the strength and tenacity of the athletes. Filipino people are often shorter in stature, and because of that, many are quick to overlook their potential in strength sports, arm wrestling included. But make no mistake, many of these athletes have a compact, stocky build and a relentless drive that gives them a real edge on the table. Their work ethic and fighting spirit are every bit as strong as their grip. Just a day after I landed, I met up with Shaun Chispa and his local community. Despite being jet-lagged, soaked in sweat, and adjusting to the intense heat, I jumped into a friendly super match with Shaun. I won't be showing the full match here since it's up on his channel, but I will say this: Shaun had the upper hand that day and was clearly the better and more experienced puller. When I arrived at his place, I was greeted with a cold drink and a warm welcome. That moment really set the tone for the rest of my time that evening, but also in the rest of the Philippines. Since it was a Monday evening, only a small part of his club was available to pull. Most of the guys had to work, and had I been able to visit on a Sunday, I'm sure the scene would have been a lot more lively. Unfortunately, due to my rather tight travel schedule, it just didn't allow for it. Still, Shaun and his friends generously took the time to share a few helpful tips and tricks after our match, of course. Shaun and I also had a brief but insightful interview where he talked about his journey and the future of arm wrestling in the Philippines. On the arm wrestling side, how do you think the Philippines kind of ranks on the world level right now?
Actually, I don't have any idea as of now because we only have the chance to compete in Southeast Asia only.
Right.
So in world level, I think if I'm gonna rate it 1 to 10, maybe 4.
Sure. A 4.
I don't know.
In the Philippines, as far as arm wrestling goes, do you think the sport can gain popularity here? Or do you think it's kind of topped out already?
This year, it's kind of booming because of the social media, with the help of social media.
Right.
And a lot of bloggers tries arm wrestling, so the exposure is good. So I think 2 to 3 years will be more famous, I think.
Yeah. Like on average, how many people show up to your training? Like a rough estimate.
Training here in our
Yes,
club,
in Cavite.
around 20 to 30 or more than. Yeah.
What do you think up to now was your favorite match or like your most high profile match?
Against Valendo.
Left-handed match against Falun Low.
And also, that was just a fun super match against Mike Ford.
Right.
I don't know if you watched
Yeah,
that.
I did watch
But
that.
it's fun super match only.
Right. The guy is
Nothing
also a lot
serious.
heavier than you are, I think. Yeah, makes sense. Shaun, I think you're a great arm wrestler.
Thank you so
You
much.
certainly proved that today.
So,
Like, I had a lot of fun, and I
but I'm
thought,
surprised how strong you are.
thank
For
you.
real.
I appreciate it. I'll be looking for the rematch in some time. But yeah, I really appreciate the welcome I got here. It was great. I had a great time so far, and I'm ready to do some after pulling if you are.
Yeah, let's go.
So, Shaun, thank you so much.
Thank you so
man.
much. Thank you so
I
much.
appreciate it.
Definitely check out Shaun's channel. He's consistently uploading and doing great work to grow the sport not only locally but also globally. One of the standout destinations of my trip was Iloilo City. It's become somewhat of a hub for arm wrestling in the Philippines. Not only was it the first city in the Philippines to have public arm wrestling tables, yes, they actually do have public arm wrestling tables here, but it's also home to a new gym spearheaded by Iloilo's own Hagdog, a local doctor and founder of an arm wrestling brand, and since recently also the founder of the local Arm Wrestling Gym. Hagdog has poured a huge amount of time, energy, and a lot of his own money into expanding the local scene. When I visited his gym, people just kept arriving. Over the course of the evening, I pulled with arm wrestlers of all sizes, strengths, and styles, until I was completely gassed out.
First time in this First time.
That's the destroyer guy.
He likes your hand.
He destroys a lot of show. Yes.
I'll go inside with you, but you will meet me inside, trust me. And I've been exactly inside. Yes. Yes. Very easy for you.
Yes.
Even some of the local 50-kilogram guys were comfortably beating me by the end of it. What stood out even more was how eager Hagdog and the others were to teach. They were open, enthusiastic, and really wanted to share everything they knew about the sport. Their willingness to pass on their knowledge made it not only one of the most fun, but also one of the most educational and memorable sessions of the whole trip. The vibe in that gym was special. There was a shared passion and intensity that reminded me why I loved this sport in the first place. Shout out to Hagdog not only for being a dedicated athlete himself, but for creating a space that's clearly lifting the entire community. When I inevitably come back to the Philippines, this club will be first on my list to visit. Also check out Ugbo Gears, since buying some of his stuff will go straight to supporting his gym. While arm wrestling was a big part of this trip, it wasn't the only thing I experienced, of course. I had the chance to visit several islands during my stay. Each one had its own unique vibe, beautiful scenery, and of course, its own slice of arm wrestling culture. Although I didn't get the chance to visit the local clubs in those areas personally, I did hear from several people about active communities training in each of those places. It was surprising and frankly incredible to see how widespread the passion for the sport is here in the Philippines. Traveling between these places gave me a fuller picture of the Philippines as both a stunning destination, but also a growing hotspot for arm wrestling. If I get the chance to return, which I'm sure I will, those clubs are definitely on my list. Something I didn't expect was how quickly fatigue would catch up with me. The heat, the humidity, being off my normal training schedule, along with some jet lag and a change in diet, it all added up in the end. I found myself burning out faster than usual when I'm on the table there. It really got me thinking about how much travel impacts performance. We often see elite arm wrestlers travel the globe for super matches and expect them to be at 100% capacity. But adapting to new conditions isn't always easy, and it's something we don't really talk about enough. But despite the fatigue and setbacks, I learned a lot on the table during my trip here. Every session, every pull, every tip, every mistake helped me grow, and I'm coming back home a better arm wrestler than I was before. And that alone makes the entire journey worth it. I also walked away from this trip with a deeper respect for those athletes. Competing internationally isn't just about being strong, it's about being adaptable, mentally sharp, and ready for anything. People in the Philippines seem to have those qualities in spades, so I'm sure we'll see several Filipino athletes competing with the best of them before long. Thanks for coming along with me on this journey through the Philippines arm wrestling scene, from the bustling streets of Manila to the vibrant corners of Iloilo, and even across the islands I visited. This trip reminded me how connected the global arm wrestling family really is. So a major thank you to Shaun, Chispa, as well as Hagdok and the entire crew there for welcoming me in the way they did. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to like, subscribe and drop a comment letting me know what you think, or even where I should visit next. I've got my eyes on a few more hidden gems in the arm wrestling world. And salamat to all my Pinoy friends. But for now, Arm Historian out.